I'm going to cover several things here on my current list. See, the stuff in the back is different than stuff I got in the front. This is from a couple of days ago or whatever. I reuse these. I got space left on paper. I'm going to start off with my dream last night, and I'm sure Sigmund Freud would have a field day. Assuming, I don't know if Sigmund Freud spoke English. I know he was a German guy. I know Carl Jung was Swiss, but I know there's actual interviews from Sigmund for or Carl Jung here on YouTube, so I know that Carl Jung spoke English. Actually, I'm not sure if I would even be willing to allow myself to lie down on Sigmund Freud's analytical bed and be psychoanalyzed by him because I think I'd be more screwed up after a session with Sigmund Freud, just from my understanding of his mindset. Now, Carl Jung was a little bit different, but I'm digressing on that. Let me get back to my dream. Now, this is my dream last night with several segments. Now, it started off with me in a bar. Now, I don't make a habit, I got no problem consuming alcohol, but, I like to do it at home where, if I get to the point where I'm not safe, I'm just only a threat to myself, not to anybody else. But, I wouldn't want to get in a bar, get at least buzzed, and then have to drive home. There's several reasons I don't hang in a bar, but somehow in this dream I was in a bar, and I don't think I was loaded, but another individual was, another guy. And somehow this guy was, let's say he was interested in me. I don't want to go beyond that because there are kiddos probably watching my videos, and I had to explain to the guy, just in normal conversation that I just really wasn't interested. Somewhere in mid conversation, there was two or three other people looking at us, kind of as I would if I was in a bar and two other individuals were having this conversation. I got through it. Think I got through, even though this guy was pretty well loaded in my dream. I still think I got through and convinced the guy that I really wasn't interested in. I was only interested in women in that way, and not really interested in a guy. But anyway, that was the first segment of the dream. A second segment, somehow had to crawl under a car to do something. Now this was a shell. It was a car missing the engine and transmission. You could clearly tell that. But somehow I had to crawl under it and do something. I don't remember exactly what I had to do, but I had to crawl under it. And I got out, and there was a sign on the wall. It was like Nacho's wrecking service or tow service, something like that. Now nachos is a food dish, with corn chips and cheese, but it's also a guy's name. So I have no idea why I was calling a nacho, and saying, "Well, I'm James Godwin. You know who I am?" The guy goes, "No, I have no idea who you are." And why that was in my dream, I couldn't tell you, but it was part of my dream. Now my dreams rarely make any type of sense, and this is certainly one of them. Now it seems I wasn't talking on a regular cell phone because I picked it up later. I said, "Well, how was I talking to Nacho?" It doesn't have to make any sense. Dreams don't make sense. But anyway, the third part of the dream, I bumped into this guy. I knew him, I knew this guy when I was a kid. I haven't talked to him probably 30, 40 years. But anyway, I was talking to this guy. I was asking how he was doing, asking how his brothers were, and he was just telling me said I haven't talked to that guy in many, many years. Anyway, that was was there another part? I think there's another part. I don't remember it now. Let's see. Let me get to um, now there's a YouTube channel called Captain Steve. Most of his stuff is aircraft related. Most of his stuff is either pilots doing something stupid or some legitimate emergency. Plane has an engine fall off and some electrical system fails. Various emergencies. The landing gear won't go up or down. Flaps won't deploy. Aircraft related stuff. Some of them are legitimate emergencies where the flight crew handles it pretty well. And some of these are stories where some of these pilots are well, you wonder how they got their pilot's license. You wonder if they could even be smart enough to get a driver's license. Some of these guys. This one video that I was watching yesterday from Captain Steve. That is the title of his YouTube channel. But anyway, this one particular pilot was landing. I don't remember the name of the airport that he was landing. The controller see this guy making a straight in approach, and he said, "Sir, we from the standard procedure from this runway is right downwind or left out, whatever it was." He gave the pilot. He said, "Turn right at this particular place, and I'll direct you around to make the proper approach." And the pilot keeps on going straight. He's also up pretty high, and the the controller, asked this guy again. He said, "Sir, would you turn right and make the proper approach?" And the guy keeps on flying in straight, and and then of course the pilot starts descending, but he's descending at a very very rapid rate. You can find the video if you want to. It's one of his. There's a bit a day or two ago when I posted it. Anyway, this pilot eventually lands, but he impacts the runway at such a um, intense. He hits real hard, and and then the air traffic controller is going. He calls out his call sign. He said, "Radio check." We want to make sure this guy's still alive, make sure he didn't kill himself or anybody else on the plane. And he goes, "Sir, well, while you're a student pilot, can you tell me exactly how you obtained your pilot's license?" And of course, the guy didn't answer him. Then the guy saying, "Can I taxi down to this particular um, but whatever intersection there is on the runway?" And it's you go through about another 5 minutes of this. Of course, this time one of the maintenance crew from the airport is saying, we need to get out there and check this runway for damage. Of course, they're going through the instructions with not normally a conversation they would have with the tower, but they do that anyway. But anyway, that they inspect the runway and they said, well, we see skid marks, but no damage to the runway. And about this time, the air traffic controller finally gets through to this guy. Says, "We'll take this, but take taxiway Foxtrot down to this, down to Alpha particular parking lot." And he said, "Sir, I'll be talking to you personally, and I definitely want to find out exactly where you're coming." He wanted to see what I'm sure the FAA would step in and see if this guy's even qualified to be a pilot or not. Because after something like that, that's stupid. Him not wanting to follow the air traffic controllers. What if there's another aircraft taking off or somebody else in the pattern that this guy collided with? Could have killed quite a few people. This guy's failure to follow, common sense instructions. I just wonder about people sometimes. Let me trying to read my own writing here. Chip and Steve. So my dream. Oh, this 41 Packard. Now, I just included the list, just some that happened to come to mind. Now, this is many years ago since I've seen this particular car. It was a 1940, 42, 41, somewhere. I think it was a 40 or 41 Packard. That company hasn't been in business many, many years. But this car, now, it was never operated the time I saw it. Now, there was a lady had it parked in her carport in a place in town here. I said, I haven't seen this car in probably 30, 40 years. But, I did, I worked on this lady's air conditioner. I just serviced it for her. I don't think I did anything serious. This lady was up in years pretty good. She was a smoker. And I'm kind of thinking that some smoking related illness probably took her. Last time I talked to her, she wasn't in the best of health. And a very nice lady, though. I really liked her. But anyway, so I'll practically think of this car, and I'm hoping somebody restored it. I'm almost certain somebody has either in a museum somewhere. It could be in that Martin Museum in Phoenix, and I definitely want to get in there sometime and go through there. If some chick wants to help me make a video, some chick that's into cars wants to help me, like if you watch Rick DeBruhl's videos, about 95% of Rick DeBruhl's videos are from that Martin Museum. But I think to be in there, that has to be an operational vehicle. And I don't know exactly what was wrong with this car. It wasn't mine. If the lady said, "Hey, would you mind going through it, just seeing if we get operation?" I said, "Well, look, let me just take a look at it. I'm not going to do anything serious to it, but just see what type of shape it's in, see if we can get it, see what it would take to get it running." I would have been willing to do that. But I have no idea what happened to this car. I'd like to think it's been restored, and either somebody's driving it or it's sitting in a museum where it's, it could be started up and run. That's that the backstory on that car. There was a 41. Now the person had bought it was the Navy pilot that had been actually killed at the Battle of Midway. That was like in it was in early 1942. The Battle of Midway. You can look at it. There's tons of information. That's one of the turning points of the Second World War, where and we, the United States almost lost the Battle of Midway. But we end up sinking two of the Japanese carriers and a number of other smaller ships. But in part of that, the Japanese lost quite a few of their aircraft. But the guy that had bought this had just barely bought it. Then he got stationed on an aircraft carrier, and then he was killed at the Battle of Midway, which I think makes it very. That was a story that was told to me, and I assume it's true because it makes a lot of sense. But I just wonder where that Packard is at now. Trying to read my last one. Well, that's it. I think I covered everything here. I'm going to cover several other things, like Robert Fisher. I'm going to cover him in another video. I want to make it a separate video. I want to make another one on several different things. Now, I could do those in other videos. Okay, love y'all. Let's keep life interesting and exciting. Ciao.